They are consuming a lot of air or oxygen because they grow so fast. Because you can think like a bacteria cell can double every half an hour, like 30 minutes to double. And for a mammalian cell, it needs like 1 to 2 days. So you can imagine for bacteria, they're growing like crazy. And then they need more oxygen to breathe, to survive. And for mammalian cells, they're like very gentle. They need not so much, growing slowly. And therefore, you have the difference in here. You will only need the heating blanket to keep like 37 degrees Celsius constant. And here, bacteria, they're growing fast and they're producing heat by this, and then you need to cool. So that's why you have the double wall for heating and cooling, and here only the heating blanket.
One question, doctor.
Yeah.
Why the chemics and biologists guys say the fermentation always be anaerobic fermentation or anaerobic reaction if you can use oxygen?
Yeah, I think it's...
Why? What is the reason? Fermentation is anaerobic.
I think just by the term, fermentation, I think originally it's really without oxygen.
Yes.
Yeah, and right now it's like scientists or in the industry, they are more used to call it fermentation, but if you ask a real professor, then you will say like, no. It's anaerobic always, Fermentation has nothing to do with oxygen. It's just by the definition,
Yeah, definition.
But right now I would say, usually when you hear the term fermentation, it's based on oxygen. This is more used application. But here you can also do anaerobic.
Anaerobic.
So, you can do both, because here, this is also, I think, a very important point to always name to customer, because then you can also be much better than the other brands. Because in our tower you have 4 mass flow controllers. So usually you have the option between rotor meter and mass flow controller. And rotor meter is like the not so advanced technology.
No.
It has accuracy like 5 to 10%. And the mass flow controller here has like up to 2%. So between 1 to 2%, very accurate. So we have the most advanced technology in, and 4 mass flow controllers. So usually for a request, customer will ask, I will do air and oxygen. So maybe only 2 mass flow controllers. And then he's like, maybe can I add a third one for nitrogen? Or maybe a fourth one? So they will start at competitor with a pricing, I don't know. It will be, for one MFC, it will be 3,000. If you add a second, it will be another 3,000 euro. If you add the third one, in our case, everything is included. You already have 4. There's no choice. You always have 4, but for a very fair price. So then you can always beat the competitors. That's a plus point for us. Yeah. Yeah. But here, so usually
one customer is called Green Polymers. He asked me for a fermenter. They want to produce polylactic acid.
Yeah, I think this is also very common.
Yeah?
Yeah, very common application.
Very common.
Yeah. I think even next week on Monday, I'm visiting a customer. He's doing the same. So they're also producing lactic acid.
Lactic acid.
Yeah. So usually, because from the application side for the fermentations, it's how to say, the system has to have like some base function. You cannot completely invent out of nowhere, because for example, you need to have the temperature, you need to have the pH and also oxygen if you're working aerobic. And also maybe antifoam is also always important, and you need to have the pumps. So these are like some core features every system needs to have. But like I said, for example, here the mass flow controllers that we have 4, that we have like a better accuracy, and also what I would say from the ergonomics, for example, together with the lid stand, therefore we're trying to build around some additional value to the customer. So that's, I think they like to have it, because I mean for 2 liter maybe it's also possible to handle it just in one hand, but maybe for women it's already harder. And if it goes to the 10 liter one or 5 liter, it's impossible. You need to have a good breakfast. It's crazy. So therefore, we're trying to have some kind of ergonomic to make it more comfortable and easier in the lab. And what I can also show, so this is also a new feature. It's not even on the market.
A guy told me that sometimes to the chemist or the user happen accidents and this propeller go down or fall into the floor, and the propellers is not straight, and they're after dancing into the.
Because I think like 2 or a few points, so if you can put it in here, then it's really more stable, and otherwise what also often happens, they're just letting it fall and then it will break the glass. This is always like, then because it's also not so cheap. If you have to buy a new one, this will also hurt. And also most important fragile component is the pH. The pH also is some kind of glassy material, and if you just put it on the table, so this would be the usual way customer will do it. You know, if they do not have the lid stand, they just put it like this. Maybe they're trying to making it, and then if the pH sensor is there, then it's breaking. Yeah. And so we will have this for 2 liter, 5 liter, and 10 liter. But this one here, this will also come. It's not even released, but soon we will also have this, and then you can use it for all different vessel sizes, and then you can just have it like this. It's a little bit like a cheaper alternative, you know.
Yeah.
But it's also nice. You know, you can also just install everything, so it's also good. Okay. Maybe what we can also see, like. Also, when looking on the ports, like I told you before, the reserve ports, so usually also the competitors, they have less options here on the lid. So they have like maybe only one of these, you know, and here we always try to put as much flexibility to the customer to add maybe another sensor or to add the reserve, like this feeding port, you know, so this is also, I think, a plus point customer likes to have.
For example, for the continuous batch, you can feeding and harvest.
Yeah, together with the external pump, so you can really, for example, like here, you can use all of the four pumps, and then you will use the feeding port to the external pump.
Okay.
Genau. So yeah, you will. What you can also do, for example, this is also interesting. So usually you have always the cooling finger port on the 2 liter, 5 and 10 liter. Okay. And what you can do, so if you have a double wall vessel, you will not use the cooling finger, right?
Yeah.
So therefore you can also think about having one here, and because it's the same size, you can also have another one here. So you can have like 8 inlets, you know.
Okay.
You can also add like even more pumps, you know. You can have a crazy setup. I mean, usually it's not needed, but just if customers asking, because sometimes they will also ask like not only one external pump, maybe even more. Is it possible? And we can say yes, it's also possible.
One question. ¿Puedes decirle que aquella vez que estaba bajando y subiendo la tapa, batalla mucho para caer en el centro, sobre todo por el baffle?
Okay. When we were in the exhibition, we had a little issue with the lid stand because we already installed the baffle.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was difficult to fit.
I know.
In the vessel.
I think sometimes also you need to check, you know, if like slight deformation of the baffle can already have some impact, and then it's harder to fit.
Yeah.
So you can also bend it a little bit. So this is also possible. You can also put it.
Okay.
Because also after transportation, so sometimes it can be like, but still I think it's always pretty tight.
Yeah.
it's always like this.
Yeah.
So, but still I would try to, you know, maybe move it. For example, also this one here. Maybe later we can also pull it out and then you will see it. That